How long does it take for you in the makeup chair to become Hellboy?
I mean, so long. It's like 3 hours basically. And then we got it down to kind of 2.5, but it's a long process because the makeup is so detailed, and it really, when I put it on, I can get right up close to the mirror, and I can't even see where where they blend and everything. It's just so, they can do real tight close-ups on it. It's amazing. But it took about 3 hours in the morning, which is a little bit crazy because if you start on Monday at 6:30 in the morning shooting, it means I got to be in the makeup chair at 3 in the morning, which means I'm kind of getting up at like 2:30, stumbling, into the car, getting there, and then you just got to fall asleep as they do this. But yeah, it was a crazy experience. I've never experienced anything like
That's dedication, man.
Yeah, well.
Are the horns, or I guess lack of, are they heavy to wear?
It's funny, the stump ones, when he shaves them off, are not. But those big ones, which when he becomes the Beast of the Apocalypse, those are practical. And not only are they heavy, but they're unwieldy. I needed an entirely new headpiece for them that would cinch to my head very tightly because of the weight of them, and that one gave me headaches. That was very unpleasant. So thankfully, I'm not the Beast of the Apocalypse for the majority of the film, but when I was, that's very unpleasant.
So we've talked about you getting ready. You're now in character. You've got the full costume going. What are you feeling?
I mean, it's so funny because you think it would be, I mean, when I started too, I would think it would be like annoyance with all this stuff and everything. And I just got so excited. It's such an exciting thing to be in a monster movie and to be playing like a monster. And I just loved it. I really, really loved it. And as the process went on with the makeup and everything, I started to love it more and more. I'd sit in the chair, I'd see myself in the mirror and I'd get annoyed with my own face. And then I'd sit in the chair, I'd get Hellboy on, I'd look at his face and I'd be like, oh, I love you, man. So I felt a lot of excitement. I mean, there's a lot of work going into it. You're always looking, there's anger, there's all kinds of emotions. But in general, I was very excited to play this character.
Do you think Hellboy would be a good neighbor?
You know what? I mean, he'd be annoying because he plays loud music, probably be beer cans littered all over the front porch. But at the end of the day, I think you'd want him on your block because he'd definitely, help you out if anything went down. He's a good guy.
He is.
Yeah.
So good to see you again.
Thank you.
Is it fun to play the villain?
You know what? It is really fun to play the villain. Just, for me, it was even more fun because I didn't look at her as a villain. She seemed like someone with a vision for peace, and no one would listen to her. And, I felt like it was kind of unfair that she wasn't really given a shot to really explain herself.
I feel like now we should have her on a therapy show, one of those.
Honestly.
When you break it down like that and you think about it, I just saw the movie last night. You're right.
Listen, I mean, I don't know. You have all these visions of Hellboy on a dragon. Did it really have to be that way? I don't know. I mean, it could have been really nice and peaceful, You have monster babies being born, half monsters. I mean, listen, I think it's all very relevant. Bring people together, that's what I say.
That's what she's doing. How long did it take for you in the makeup chair to get ready for shooting?
It depended. When I first came out of the boxes, I was a little bit rotted away. So that was about 5 hours of makeup. And we were doing night shoots at the time. So it was freezing in Bulgaria in the middle of the fall, which is cold over there. And it was hard because I was literally covered in prosthetics and veins and crazy mud makeup. It was pretty disgusting, and it took ages.
Are you a comics fan?
Yes, but probably not the comics that the fanboys would love. I was a big Archie fan.
See, I'm the same way.
Really?
I'm not hardcore. I'm kind of like your just casual comics.
I was ElfQuest, Archie.
Okay, see,
me
too.
I like the cute ones.
And right. And the reason I asked it is because
I also loved Gem. Okay, growing up, and all those kind of amethysts. There was all of these kind of female comic girls that were a little more lightweight. They weren't so violent.
I'm right there with you. I'm a mama's boy, so I kind of get that. My mom, she introduced me to comics, movies, and music. So
Nice
I'm like,
mom.
oh,
I love that.
She's a rock and roll mom.
Hell yeah.
And she's watching right now. I'm sure she is.
Oh, cute. Hi, Mom.
So but the reason I asked it is because research for your character. What did you go to research about her?
Of course, the British accent was a big pressure for me, and I worked with Vicky Hanlon, who also worked with Sasha. Really amazing coach, and that was about 4 months of preparation of like working on the accent every day. So I felt super comfortable with it. So it wasn't so much that I was looking at comics. I mean, obviously I read the Hellboy comics with my character in them, but I was more looking at like Cersei from Game of Thrones a little bit for like inspiration to like where to take, because she's like so charming, but she's got this great British accent, but she's totally evil too. So, they're like, and I'm a big fan.
You're awesome, dude. I just want to come out and say that.
That's the best way to start an interview.
You even got me choked up. See how what you did? How did you get ready to portray this character?
To be honest, I didn't have that much time to get ready. Because of the way the movie was cast, I joined pretty late, and so I had a couple of days to prepare the character before I flew out to England and started shooting. The things I started thinking about right away were the British accent and, just kind of starting to stretch because I knew it was going to be physical. And so those were the things I concentrated on.
Milla said that too about the accent. She goes, I thought everybody turned British. I was like, wow, this is solid. Okay, so are you a big comics fan?
I was. When I was a kid, I had boxes full of comic books.
Because Ben, I knew the story of Hellboy, but I honestly didn't really realize that this character, was as important as he is to the story. So when you go back and when you were researching him, what surprised you the most?
That he was Asian. Because, comics that I was reading at the time didn't really include many Asian characters. And that was one of the most appealing things about this movie to me. We haven't seen many Asian superheroes in the other universes. And so when I heard that this was a chance to play one, that I was in.
That's legit, man. I don't want to ruin anything, but there's a transformation. People know your character. I mean, the hardcore, these guys walk around, the hardcore comics fan. They even correct things that actors do. Like, you should have done it. Do they do that? Have they done that to you? Yeah, you're agreeing with me on that.
Yeah,
one.
no, and Lost was the same way. When I was doing Lost, people would ask me questions, logic questions, continuity questions, and sometimes like point out like inconsistencies. So I'm used to it.
We'll be here all day if we do the Lost thing. I'll have to actually have a presentation behind me with the chart flow.
Yeah, right.
But the transformation, was that such how did you film that, number one, without revealing too much? And number two, was the adrenaline rush just insane? Because when you go from one to the other, it's just crazy.
Yeah, the whole idea behind it was that it was supposed to be as painful for my character as it could be. And so it was a long day of shooting. And, we shot that, all of the whole transformation took one full day. So we were focusing on every detail, from the way my hand would transform to the way my leg might and my back. And so, we shot it, we did maybe 100 takes, and it was very physically taxing.
So where did you go mentally? Because the pain on your face was real. I know you're an actor and you're a great actor, but the pain was just so authentic. What were you thinking?
My character has a lot of pent-up anger. He spends a lot of the movie trying to hide his nature. And so what I kept thinking about was just being able to release any stress, any tension, any anger that I had personally and that the character had. I just used that as a way of just sending it all out.
I would have channeled going to the dentist.
Yeah,
Because that's what I thought. I said, man, he looks like he's getting a tooth pulled. Let me start off by saying it's really cool to meet you, man.
Thank you.
You're awesome, and I love your work.
Thank you.
How did this role find its way to you?
They asked me. I mean, I was like, what is it? It was we made it in late 2017, so I guess it was like the middle, late. I was in England, seeing the family, taking some time off, and I got the script, and I knew I looked at Neil Marshall's work, who's very talented. I mean, it's not my genre, but The Descent is a really scary movie, And I watched that and I thought, the guy knows what he's doing. And it was weird because both Perlman and Hurt are two of my oldest friends. But this had nothing to do with either of them. Neither did the check. I told them. Excuse me. But Johnny, it's kind of tip of the hat to my oldest friend in the business, playing Broom, and I knew that David is a fine actor. I mean, I've seen him on Broadway many times, and he acted the hell out of this. And I think it's like it's a twin brother to Ron, whatever, but taken to another height. Did you enjoy it?
I loved it. I said,
Great.
this is Hellboy with...
Yeah, well, I mean, that was one of the things. It was a reboot because I think Mignola felt, much as he loved, and I loved Guillermo del Toro's work, it was like Guillermo's more fantastical.
Yes.
And this, they wanted a little more, what's the word, kick-ass. And that's what I believe is the going term.
It is.
And that's what they sort of got with, the combined talents that they hired for the movie, which is a good thing.
It's action-packed. It is non-stop action. Did it feel like that as you were filming?
No, well, I was there 3 weeks in Bulgaria. They did all my stuff, which was very nice. I got to know David. I mean, I never saw... I mean, I knew him before, but he kept the suit on most of the time, which is kind of like... I met him, So I automatically assumed they'd cast the right guy who was purple and had horns and was, purple, red, and was 6'8", 12 inches tall. Now, I'd seen him with Pacino in New York on stage. And it was just an instant click. And Milla, I'd know before. I worked with her husband, Paul, and Daniel Kim, and the lovely young girl who's not here. I don't know. She's not with us today. She was great. Nice group of people.
We're talking again in a couple of weeks for John Wick 3, which I can't wait for. But I have to ask you, you continue to have such an incredible career. Tell me what it is about show business that you love so much. Why do you love to act so much?
I don't love show business. That's, I like to act. I mean, they're two different things. It's like I'm doing now because this is part of the whole entourage, the way new films are sold. I mean, when I started, you'd be lucky to talk to, the one journalist would come on the set every night. No, you're talking earlier. Everything changes. Nothing ever stays the same. So it's kind of nice to be talking about something, especially if you like talking about it. Nothing worse talking about a film that you're half-assed about. But this one, I think, fulfills its promise, what they wanted to deliver, and it delivers.
Why did you get into acting?
I wasn't good enough to play football like my dad. I broke my leg, and I met a teacher at school who said, you should be in this play, and I didn't. It was like I felt very at home. And next minute, I'm at drama school. Next minute, I'm in a movie called Wild and Willing, and here we are 60 years later. No, 50 years later.
I'm going to steal that, by the way, when I want to do that.
Absolutely.
Dave, how long have you been doing this? No.